Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. It is Championship Sunday in the NFL, which means we have to bring on best friend of the show, Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz, to break down the NFC and AFC Championship matchup. And we also need to pay our respects to the one and only, the late, great Hank Aaron, who left us at the age of 86 today, Friday, January 22nd, 2021. One of the great humans and pioneers in history has left us and will be greatly missed. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But before we get to all that, make sure you guys are following us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you can get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Visit us at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from the True Crime Show, the Pop Culture Show, the interviews, and everything else on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves.
Well, I think that I want to be remembered as someone who was able to forget about baseball, play the game the way it's supposed to be played, but forget about baseball, but be able to help mankind, help other people, really, to do things that necessarily would help people that didn't have the ability or the know-how like I did, So I want to be remembered as saying, not someone who hit 700 home runs or someone who had a 300 batting average, but someone who did a little bit more than this, did some other things to help mankind.
The voice of the late, great Hank Aaron on how he would like to be remembered after he has gone. And I think that's how all of us are going to remember him, is just how important he was outside of the game as an ambassador, humanitarian, and what he meant for, social justice when it came to racial equality and inequality, that the barriers that him and men like him and women like him and so on and so forth. And to me, there is a Mount Rushmore in every sport of like good humans, right? The people that everybody loves, that everybody just defends and gathers to and mourns when they're gone. And between Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, and now Hank Aaron, it seems like we have really lost the great ones. And that has been the case, if you're a fan, we've lost a lot of great legends, and from the Yankees and the Red Sox, and we're losing a lot of that generation for the baseball generation that grew up watching these guys, and kind of that most pure, if you will, the most diehard, if you will, generation losing their idols. It's hard, and it's kind of the hard part of growing up, right? Especially if you're a sports fan, because you age with these guys and these ladies, and the fact that 86 years old, saw a hell of a lot of a life. And, if you want to talk about the career, when we're looking at 755 home runs, 305 batting average, 2,297 RBI, 240 stolen bases, an on-base percentage of 374, slugging of 555, an OPS of 928, he had a WAR of 143.1. I mean, he was a super stud. And the most iconic moments in all of sport might belong to him, in him hitting that home run to break the record. And it's just important. It's important. An MVP of 1957 World Series, 2-time batting title champion, 3 Gold Gloves, freaking 25 All-Stars. He's the man. And we lost a good one. And it's a sad day for so many people outside of just the sports world. And I guess just knowing, though, that a legacy and a life well lived really does go far, and it's a good example, and it's kind of a good message that we need. So Hank Aaron, gone at 86, a legend every sense of the word, and we will mourn him, but we will remember him, and the game of baseball will honor him in the best way that they can and should. Hank Aaron, legend of life and baseball, gone at 86.
1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth.
We never need a reason to bring this man onto the show, but when we do, it is amazing to have him be able to drop some knowledge bombs onto our plate. We must be talking about the one and the only best friend of the show, Christian Simpson, because it is championship weekend. You can find him all over the universe. He's on Twitter at NYSFindus90. Check out the Daily Blitz on Twitter at DailyBlitz_61. And of course, check out all the latest articles and opinions that my brother is working on at thedailyblitz.blog. It is the one. It is the only. It is Christian Simpson. Christian, my brother, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How's it going?
It is going, my brother. You know, I was excited and happy to get you onto the show today as we get ready for Championship Sunday. But as I talked about in the beginning of the show, before we had you on, and I really want you to be able to take the second to have the floor. We lost one of the greats, not just in the sports world, but on this planet, and that was Hank Aaron. We talked about it earlier. We played a clip from the great one himself, so I wanted to just give you a second to really talk about the legend that was Hammer and Hank.
Yeah, well, first off, the world is sports, and I just think the world lost one of the great people, as you just said. This is tough. This is tough because he was just always that legend that was there. Even as he got older, you still saw him in Atlanta at spring training, at a Braves game. I can't speak of Atlanta Braves baseball without mentioning Hank Aaron. He is the Atlanta Braves. I think he's the greatest Brave of all time, and I think everybody who played after him would probably agree with me and say the same. This whole day, man, as always, I just thought, about my late grandfather, Mr. Robert Mitchell, may God rest his soul.
Yep, absolutely.
Because, he used to tell me stories about Mr. Aaron all the time. And there was always one common denominator in each story that he told me. And that was not only was he a great baseball player, he was a greater person. Class act, true gentleman. We say that about a lot of athletes, but I think it really sticks to Hank Aaron. You just see the icon that he is in the game of baseball, but you look at everything he had to endure while he was playing, playing and during a time where racism and bigotry and just a whole bunch of hatefulness and divisiveness is still served on the plate at that time. And I saw a letter where he was openly called the N-word if he broke that record and didn't respond, didn't retaliate. And to be honest with you, I think Hank Aaron can teach a lot of us how to handle yourself no matter what is thrown your way. It's just a sad day, not just for baseball, but it's a sad day in the world. He was an icon beyond measure. And, my heart goes out to the Atlanta Braves organization. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Aaron family, his wife, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. And I hope baseball just does something to honor this man, because this man was a true ambassador for the sport, true legend. I mean, Hammer and Hank, you already know. And you know my rule: you better have game if you have two first names. And I don't think there's a better saying, a better person that saying could be applied to more than Mr. Hank Aaron himself. So may God rest his soul, and just your thoughts and your prayers go out to everybody who knew him, everybody who loved him. And just the one thing that's in common, he was just a phenomenal man. It doesn't matter what you do on the field or on the playing surface. It's how you conduct yourself and how you handle yourself when you're not being watched. And he did it better than a lot of people, and he will be missed greatly.
Absolutely, my brother. I mentioned this before you got on the show, that there's only a few guys who end up, and gals who end up in sports royalty beyond just the field. And in baseball, between Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, and now Hank Aaron, heaven has gotten three of the biggest ones when it comes to breaking down the racial barriers, and as well as being some of the most phenomenal players ever. And we lost one of the last ones of that type of ilk. So I 100% agree with you that it's a sad day, not just for the sports world, for humanity, but gives us a chance to reflect. And we mentioned it just a little while ago, that reflection, and sometimes like this, thinking about your great, the amazing grandfather of yours that we lost a little bit ago. And we knew how proud he was of the amazing work that you have done. And that amazing work leads us right into this Sunday. It's a wonderful time, a time where you can hang out with the family safely. You can enjoy a meal, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy Championship Sunday, one of the greatest days on the sports calendar. And this year, we are treated to two amazing matchups in the NFC. Tampa Bay, Green Bay, the Buccaneers, the Packers, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get it in the Super Bowl, but we get it in a conference championship game. And in the AFC, the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, take on the upstart Buffalo Bills, the newcomer Josh Allen, making his name known in the MVP race, taking on former MVP, the reigning, defending MVP in Patrick Mahomes. Before we break down this thing, how are you feeling about this weekend?
Man, this has always been one of my favorite Sundays in football. The Final Four, so many memorable moments of this weekend, and man, so many I can think of. I think of just recently, he was the talk of the news this week. Phillip Rivers retiring, had a great career, but I think of him with the San Diego Chargers going up to play an undefeated Patriots team and playing that game on a torn ACL. I can't imagine even standing on a torn ACL for the duration of time that he did when he played in that game, but to throw on a torn ACL, that's really saying a lot. I think of Peyton finally getting over on Tom Brady that one year, because, you know, Tom was always that thorn in his side come playoff time, but Peyton got over the hump, led the Indianapolis Colts to the Super Bowl over the Chicago Bears. I think of that epic game, Vikings and Saints, NFC title game. I think of the Giants and Packers, Brett Favre's final game as the Green Bay Packers. So many great memories have taken place in this round. You look at the no call in New Orleans a couple years ago. I know you remember that.
We did a lot of shows about that.
Yeah, we did a lot. We talked a lot about that. You know, the Patriots and Chiefs that same year. That was a great game. So just so many great memories, and hopefully we get some more added to the memory vault on Sunday.
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about this. Let's start with maybe the Hall of Fame game, if you will. We're talking about two of the greatest. Everybody was wondering if we were ever going to see a Green Bay versus New England Super Bowl to see the matchup of Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Instead, we get in a conference championship, literally the next best thing, and we get this matchup. So we're going to break it down little by little, and we'll see how this all shakes out, because I know Christian is going to have some amazing work leading into Championship Sunday, so make sure you guys keep your eyes out on the work. The dailyblitz.blog. He's also on Twitter at NYSFinest90, and the show and the podcast and all the stuff that he's working at, make sure you're following them at dailyblitz_61. Let's start this way. How does Tampa's defense maintain Aaron Rodgers, if they can even maintain Aaron Rodgers?
Well, what did I tell you about Todd Bowles? What does he like to do most? He likes to blitz. Didn't really do it a lot last week against New Orleans. He changed up his game plan. Rush 4, had the middle of the line of the field locked up and secured. And those corners I thought were the playmakers of the game outside of Devin White. Played that tight man coverage, and they dared Drew Brees to beat them down the field. 15 and 20 yards. No, when he didn't have that arm strength in, it forced turnovers. So they're going to have to create turnovers, I think, to have this win. Let Tom play his game, think and dump. Then that'll create the big play down the field. I think Leonard Fournette is going to be in this game. So it's going to come to an active front seven, not necessarily blitzing Aaron Rodgers too much, and a lot of Leonard Fournette. Like I said, I think he's going to be key. Let that open up the field for Tom, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who I also think needs to step it up because there's no Antonio Brown.
Yeah, so how do you think this is just coming down the wire? Antonio Brown will not be in this game. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, they played so many games without him, so I think it'll be fine. They won't miss him too much. This is where I think Scotty Miller is going to step up. You know, Brady likes those smaller and shorter and shiftier wide receivers, and that's exactly what Scotty's been to this Tampa Bay offense. But he's a guy that can do a little bit more because he can take the top off his own. He's just not a guy that works the middle like a Julian Edelman or a Cole Beasley or even Chris Godwin, but can also take the top off his own. So I think Scotty Miller is also going to step up, and he's going to be that other weapon. And I also see Tom really getting in sync with Cameron Brate as well. You know, Tom loves getting the ball to his tight end. So everything I said, I think is going to be key for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get a win on Sunday.
So for some reason, when I'm looking around, I'm listening to a lot of people talk and break down this matchup. I feel like everybody's really leaning on that Aaron Rodgers and his offense are kind of this high-octane, well-oiled machine, which they are. He's one of the baddest men on the planet, probably going to win the MVP. So you got to give him all that. But I feel like on paper, man for man, Tampa Bay is loaded, if not more talented in every position, minus quarterback. And even their quarterback isn't so shabby. So I'm wondering what it is that makes people feel that this is going to be a runaway game if it's going to be one of those type of blowouts and it's going Green Bay's way. If in my eyes, I think Tampa Bay's just as loaded, if not more.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is just as loaded. Tom came here for a reason. Look at these weapons that he got to come and team up with. Mike Evans, 6'5", wide receiver who's recorded 1,000 yards, I think in six or seven of his last regular seasons. I mean, he's a threat, 6'5" guy, possession guy. Kind of doesn't really get the respect that he necessarily deserves. I was really excited for Chris Godwin when Tom got there because, like I said, Tom likes those smaller and shiftier receivers, but Chris is able to do much more. It's almost like a mix of playing with Julian Edelman and Brandon Cooks. Then you get Chris Godwin. They're able to run the football. Offensive line has had its ups and downs this year. And defensively, you know, they have playmakers. Jason Pierre-Paul, he has experience. And Ndamukong Suh, he has experience. He was just playing in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. But I think the guy that really makes this defense go, he goes by the name of Devin White. He was my X factor last week when they played the Saints. And every time the ball was out in New Orleans, when the Saints had it in the air, you always saw number 45 around the field. So I could understand why you would say Tampa Bay may be more loaded than Green Bay. They are. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Green Bay has probably three big names on offense. Aaron Rodgers, of course, Aaron Jones, who I thought was their best player last year. But this offense in Green Bay goes with one guy, and he goes by the name of Mr. Devontae Adams, best wide receiver in the National Football League. Great with the ball in his hands, but it's his release at the line of scrimmage which separates him from every other wide receiver in the league this year. Rodgers just knows how to use him. LaFleur is going to find ways to get him the ball. You saw that touchdown last week against the Rams, motioning him. You saw Jalen Ramsey wasn't on him, and Aaron just threw a dart to him for 6 points. So this Packers offense goes as those three go, but I'm also looking at the others for Green Bay. When I say the others, I'm talking about the other guys that no one really knows about. I'm talking about Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I'm talking about Alan Lazard, Robert Tanya, Equanimeous St. Brown. So these Packers have weapons as well.
And I think that's also like maybe I'm overlooking the fact that they do have when you have a talented group of skilled position players, and then you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, it just elevates things to a different level. So maybe that's what a lot of people are banking on when it comes to the betting lines and kind of how people are feeling when it comes to the aura around this game. I wonder, in your mind, what does Aaron Rodgers and this offense have to do or be successful at more in order to win this game? Are they going to have to be the type of team that is able to throw the ball and get first downs, or they're going to have to run the ball and kill a bunch of clock? What do you think is more the key to success with this offense? Or is it the fact that you have Aaron Rodgers that it doesn't quite matter because time of possession and all that doesn't matter? It's kind of the same way with Patrick Mahomes.
I think what Green Bay is going to have to do, they're going to have to use Aaron Jones in different capacities because you're not going to run the football on Green Bay. I use him, get him in space, use him one-on-one, create a mismatch with a linebacker or a safety in space because he's a threat, not just in the running game, but in the passing game as well. I think it's going to come down to the Packers defense. They've been playing great as of late. They've been great against rushing the passer. They've been great in the secondary. Look out for Jair Alexander. You hear about Jalen Ramsey? Jair Alexander's had just as good of a year in Green Bay, shutting down all the elite receivers. And I think that's going to be the matchup of the game. So watch Jair Alexander lining up on Mike Evans, take him away, force Brady to look elsewhere. But when you play Tom Brady, one thing comes to mind. You have to have a pass rush that can get to him because if you don't get to him, he's just going to pick you apart. And he's just gonna have his way. He's gonna do it with a smile, which is really gonna make people angry. So they're gonna have to throw him off his rhythm. They're gonna have to make him move, force him to move the pocket because he's never really been a mobile guy, Mikey. So I think that's what's gonna be key for the Green Bay Packers. Their offense is gonna do what their offense does: lots of quick passes to Devontae, using Robert Tonyan in the open field, using that play action. I think that's what it's going to end up coming down to for Green Bay.
I know you're going to be covering this as we get closer through Saturday into Sunday morning, so we'll save the predictions for people to have to go to the dailyblitz.blog and make sure that they're following Christian on all the socials. So without any spoilers, how are you looking? What are you looking for when you're going to make a prediction for the NFC Championship game?
Well, I'm looking to see, can Tampa put that momentum, put that game behind them last week because you have bigger fish to fry on this one. Look, the Saints, they were good this year, but Green Bay was the best team in the NFC for a reason. And I actually did preview this game on the site. I called it By the Bay. A trip to Tampa Bay is on the line. I'm looking at Tampa. Can they turn the page? Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, they're going to have these guys laser focused, as Tom would say. And for Green Bay, you played your best game of the year last year. Now, how does that transfer over onto the bigger stage? This is a first for Aaron Rodgers. This is his first NFC Championship at Lambeau Field. He's probably going to channel all those emotions, and then he's going to put everything behind him. He's a very even-keeled, yet cool, calm, and collected football player. It comes down to, can Green Bay – I think this game comes down to who can pressure the other team's quarterback better. That's what I think this game is ultimately going to come down to. I think Tampa's going to fight, but in the end, I just think Green Bay, they remember what happened in Week 6. They were embarrassed at the hands of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lots of blitzing, lots of turnovers. Aaron Rodgers, probably his worst game of the year. Defense looked horrible, and Tom didn't even look all that great in that game. I don't even think he eclipsed over 200 yards in that game, but Tampa's going to have to run that football. That's, I think, the most important thing for Tampa Bay because Green Bay struggles to stop the run. But if Green Bay can clamp down, get some stops, win the battle on third down by getting off the field, they win this football game, and that's exactly what I think happens. I like the Green Bay Packers to represent the NFC in Super Bowl 55.
Are you surprised that there hasn't been a bunch of hype or pressure for the Buccaneers to be playing the Super Bowl in their home stadium? Like, I think any other year it'd be the story heading into this, but the fact that it's two Hall of Famers and the game is even bigger than who's hosting the Super Bowl. Is it interesting to you that we're so close to this actually coming to fruition and nobody's really even thinking about it?
Yeah, because I think the matchup as a whole is a lot bigger
Right.
than what a lot of people are looking forward to. And to be honest with you, I think that's the last thing that Tom Brady is thinking of. He's just taking it
Specifically, sure.
one game at a time. And I also look at it like this, too. Isn't it funny that a team could be playing in the Super Bowl in their home stadium? And how fitting is it that Tom Brady is a part of it?
Yeah, after all that. Well, it's funny because my dream Super Bowl has a lot to do with irony and what's coming full circle, but we'll jump to the AFC really fast, my brother. And this one's an interesting one because, look, I'm not the biggest in conspiracy theories. I believe in a fun one every once in a while. But I saw Patrick Mahomes get his bell rung, some would say, right? And it's just interesting enough that the concussion moved to a neck injury, so that he's definitely able to play come this Sunday because Patrick Mahomes will be playing this Sunday. We saw him practice today. How big is that? Obviously, understatement, but how truly huge is to have Patrick Mahomes under center this championship Sunday against the Bills?
It's huge because of everything he does. I mean, he has such command of this offense, spreads the ball around to all his receivers. You know who he reminds me of a little bit after watching him play? I see a lot of Brett Favre.
Interesting.
Game. You know, just that the ability to improvise, make plays on the go right away without even thinking about it, kind of moving around, playing with that backyard mentality. And guess what? One thing that Patrick and Brett both have in common: Andy Reid is their coach. So, this is huge because the Chiefs, they looked a little shaky offensively. Obviously, your best player is out, but they were still able to get the job done on Sunday. This is absolutely huge. I think the game is at an all-time high when Patrick Mahomes is playing. He's a superstar. I think he's really the face of the league now. You're seeing him on every commercial. You have kids out here getting their hair cut like Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, he's just he's a great example for the league. Handles himself with a lot of grace and class. I'm happy to hear this.
Well, I have only two real major points on this game that I want to hit on because I think this is the most hyped pure football game of the weekend, while the other one is the Hall of Fame game, and there's a lot of intrigue in it just to see this matchup we've been waiting for. I believe this one is much more the purest game. We're watching the young studs. We're watching a matchup that can go either way, truly, and we're watching two marquee franchises as well. Say what you will about Tampa, but it's not a marquee franchise like the Packers are. So in this one, you do have two legacy teams in the AFC on top of superstars and MVPs and skill positions. So we know Patrick Mahomes is going to be in this game. Can the Bills defense game plan anything in their minds to stop or maintain or contain this Chiefs offense from Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, to, of course, the one and only Patrick Mahomes?
You said it best. The first guy I'm zooming in on as a defense is Tyreek Hill. He is their most dynamic offensive weapon because they get him the ball and they use him in a variety of different ways because they're able to motion him, able to run a jet sweep with him. He can run the bubble screens, but he's probably the best at taking the top off the zone. Patrick Mahomes knows that's his security blanket next to Travis Kelce, which leads me to number 2. When you play Kansas City, you're taking away number 10 and you're taking away number 87. And as a defense, I'm perfectly content with McCole Hardman, Byron Pringle, Demarcus Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm content with letting one of those 4 guys beat me. I'm doing all I can to try and double and limit Tyreek Hill because if Patrick Mahomes gets him the ball once, 1 catch is going to turn into 5 completions. 5 completions is going to turn into 8 or 9 completions. Same can be said about Travis Kelce. So I think Buffalo's secondary, they're going to be tested. They played great last week against Baltimore because they did everything they could to keep Lamar Jackson in that pocket. Didn't let him get that big run like we're accustomed to seeing. So everything is going to be on Buffalo's defense. Leslie Frazier has to have his guys ready to play.
So let's get into the counter of it. We know that Buffalo's defense is going to be on its heels. We know that every ounce of respect that this Kansas City offense has earned and all the fear that it installs in every defensive coordinator and fan base is well deserved.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, now this is kind of the question. Does Josh Allen have the goods to outplay Patrick Mahomes? There's no doubt that he's taken a step forward. There's no doubt that he's a specimen when it comes to what you're looking for when you're creating a quarterback in Madden. But in this biggest moment, a moment we've seen Ryan Tannehill in, that we've seen Blake Bortles in, that we've seen Jared Goff in, Jimmy Garoppolo, the biggest of stages, is Josh Allen the goods?
He's going to have to be. But here's my piece of advice to Josh Allen. He has to play his own game. He cannot try to match Patrick Mahomes throw for throw, because if he does, they will lose this football game. There are certain quarterbacks you can't get into a shootout with. That's Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. You cannot get into a shootout with those guys. Why would you try to do what they do best against them? They'll catch on to it, and they say, oh, okay, now I really have to turn it up a notch. But he's been an MVP candidate for a reason, Mike. He's going to have to be great in this one. I think Kansas City's going to do all they can to limit Stephon Diggs, because he's been an absolute godsend to the Buffalo Bills. I'm watching Cole Beasley as my X factor for the Buffalo Bills. He's the heart and soul of this team. This city loves him. These fans love him. And anytime Josh knows he needs a guy to make a tough catch over the middle, he's looking in number 11's direction. He's that chain mover. He's their version of Julian Edelman. Does a lot of the dirty work, can block. Pretty important piece to this Buffalo offense. But my question is this: can Buffalo run the football? Because you got to be able to keep Mahomes and company on the sideline. Can they run the football?
I mean, I guess it really comes down to what they did last week, and with the wind blowing the way it was in Buffalo, the crazy weather, they ran the ball 7 times or 10 times, and 7 of them were with Josh Allen, and 4 of them were Singletary or vice versa. Like they threw the ball 40 times. So I wonder if it's more along that you just have to establish it enough where you have to respect the fact that they might run on you, because Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson, makes you have to respect the run game, even if J.K. Dobbins isn't going off. I wonder if it's the same with Moss and Singletary when it comes to what's going up in West New York.
And that's huge, too, for Kansas City's defense. Frank Clark is going to have to be great like he was last year. And this is why you re-sign a guy like a Chris Jones. They're going to have to keep Josh Allen contained and in that pocket. They cannot allow him to buy time, move the pocket left to right, and make a throw on his run, or get those hard-fought yards like we know he's accustomed to getting. But when I look at the Kansas City side, I have a feeling Buffalo, they're going to come after Mahomes. They're going to test him early on. He was kind of hobbled last week against Cleveland. So I'd be blitzing him. I'd be making him run left and right just to test that foot and to test that toe. And the guy I'm watching for Kansas City, I'm watching Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back. I was so excited when the Chiefs drafted him out of LSU. Kind of an incredible start for him. International championship last year for LSU, now playing for the right to get to the Super Bowl in the AFC. Pretty good start. I'd love to be in Clyde's shoes right now. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a more well-rounded Maurice Jones-Drew, just a guy that can bounce outside, run in between the tackles, bounce outside those tackles. He's an all-purpose back. He can run all 3 downs. They're going to use him a lot because so much emphasis is going to be put on Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and all those weapons on the perimeter. You're not going to see the box loaded.
Well, then let's get to it. We did it in the NFC. Let's do it in the AFC. You're going to be able to see his full breakdown, the Daily Blitz, as we get closer. The one and only Christian Simpson, my brother, what are you looking for in the AFC Championship game?
Well, I'm looking to see how healthy is Patrick Mahomes. I think that's the most important thing. Is he 100%? But then again, we know everybody around this time of the year is nursing an injury. They're dinged up. They're bruised up. It's the most physical sport in the world. Probably with hockey being a close number 2 because it's a contact sport. So how healthy is Patrick Mahomes in Buffalo? You've gotten this far. It's been a magical year. You can't look back. You have to focus on what's ahead right now. And they just need to play their game and be themselves. And I think they can keep this game close. But in the end, I don't know if Buffalo has enough to keep up with those weapons of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I like the Chiefs to win the AFC Championship again and represent the conference in Super Bowl 55.
It is going to be one of the most entertaining weekends in the NFL this season. The fact that we've made it to Championship Sunday is in amongst itself a crazy fact, but You know, Christian, I am so excited to kind of just see where we're at next week this time as we kind of see where Super Bowl is at, and we will have you on to break down the big game. I guess lastly, before we head out here, the last time we were on, we, of course, here in Chicago, we're here on Sports from the Couch. There's no way that we could not talk about Deshaun Watson. So we know, we know that some stuff is going on. Nothing formally has happened, but what do you think is going to happen after this conference championship weekend and then 2 weeks out from the Super Bowl at that point? Is Eric Bieniemy going to get hired? What is going on with Houston? They're the last team that hasn't brought in their head coach. What do you think, knowing what's going on with the Chiefs this weekend and potentially trying to defend their crown in a few weeks? How do you think that plays out?
Man, it's a mess in Houston right now. Houston, there really is a problem. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be there. I mean, Andre Johnson, a former Texan great, is even bashing the franchise as a whole, saying they don't take care of their players. And I don't know if you saw this today. I was looking at this on Instagram. They actually interviewed Josh McCown for their head coaching position.
I did see that.
So that just goes to show you how much of a mess this franchise is. I know Deshaun just signed that contract extension last September. But he's not happy there. And I think he's either going to be a 49er or he may even be a Colt. The Colts are looking for a quarterback. And the way Houston conducts themselves, I would not be surprised if they traded him to an in-division rival.
I feel like the Jets are kind of the low-key team that nobody's talking about that seems to have all it takes to get in there. And this is your time. If you're looking at, like, let's say the Jets are Miami, you know that New England is out of it, and you know that the Bills kind of have taken the reins right now. If you're Miami, do you really believe in Tua? If you're the Jets, is it worth or is there anything at number 2 that you think is worth it if you're not getting Trevor Lawrence? So I think the Jets and the Dolphins have a really, really good shot of landing Deshaun Watson. If I'm the Chicago Bears, I mentioned this the last time, you offer up whatever you can, if you can. The problem is there's no way you make a good deal that is Chicago's way other than getting Deshaun Watson. To me, it's if you're a fan, what are you okay with? If you're okay with the risk of giving up a stupid amount where even Madden wouldn't let you make the trade, but like that's what it would take to get Deshaun Watson to Chicago. But is it worth it? Because you do get a top 7 quarterback in the league. And we're seeing this Sunday on Championship Sunday that a top 5 quarterback gets you this far. And all 4 of these guys are top 5ers on any random list, especially 3 of them. So
Absolutely. And the fact that Eric B isn't a head coach right now. Eric B should have been a head coach about 5 or 10 years ago.
Don't get me started, though.
You know, everybody who has played for Eric Bieniemy has had nothing but positive things to say about him. He's a phenomenal football mind. He has what it takes to be a head coach. But I saw somebody say this on social media the other day. Eric B is waiting for Andy Reid to retire because Andy's getting up there in age. May not do it forever, so Eric could take the reins from Andy Reid whenever Andy decides to call it a career. And things like that just really make you think.
If you had to put some money on it, what would you say? Do you think that that's a real possibility? I mean, if it's the case, how come it's him and out of all these years, nobody else waited? I mean, I feel like in the NFL, there's only X amount of jobs any given time. Like, I think waiting is a detriment. So I wonder, how much do you actually think that's true?
I wasn't thinking about that until I saw somebody say that, but it's a very strong possibility. I wouldn't be surprised. This is the National Football League. This is where you need to expect the unexpected. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. All those years ago, did you see New England going after Randy Moss? No, you didn't. So anything is possible to happen.
Christian, this is going to make a crazy story how it plays out. I mean, but in a world where Dan Campbell is talking about biting kneecaps on his way up when they've been pushed down, the fact that Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job makes you question some stuff in the NFL, but that's a different story for a different day. My brother, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, make sure you're following him all over the universe. Check him out on Twitter at NYSFinest90. He's also on Twitter at Daily Blitz _61. Check out all the latest articles, opinions, breakdowns at thedailyblitz.blog. He is passionate about this. He is knowledgeable about this. and he is all about this. He is one of the best in the business, one of the best NFL and NCAA college insiders. He's a huge sports fan, a wonderful, one of the only wonderful New Yorkers that I know. He is my brother, Christian Simpson. Thank you so much for joining us, my man.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait to do it again.
Love, homie.
Always.
That'll do it for us on this edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Don't forget, you can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you can get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Visit us at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from the True Crime Show, the Pop Culture Show, the interviews, and everything else on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.